Conservation District. Alan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Alan.
And Judge. I appreciate the opportunity to come back again this year and give you an update on what's gone on in groundwater. There's a lot of talk about groundwater of late. I saw it in the Eagle, saw it on KBTX. Everybody's interested in groundwater. So we're going to tell you what happened in 2024. It's been a very busy year in 2024 and going to be even busier probably in 2025. So if you have questions as we go along, don't hesitate to stop and ask, okay? So during 2024, we permit water wells for non-exempt purposes, meaning those wells that are not for a domestic or livestock use. We had 8 wells this past year that received non-exempt wells, 4 for agriculture, 3 for industrial use, and 1 that was a multiple use well for agricultural and industrial, for a total of 2,760 acre feet permitted, compared to 2023 where we had 104 permits and we issued about 200,000 acre feet. Because we had a rule change in 2023, and when you have a rule change, when it deals with spacing between wells, and people were thinking that they needed to have permits, it's like when they change ordinances. People already planning, they came. We had a landslide of permits in 2023. Not all, most of that happening in the Simsboro Aquifer, which is what Bryan, College Station, Texas A&M, Welborn, Wixon, and everyone pretty much uses Simsboro. So we had a much reduced permitting year in for all aquifers. Okay, permits by aquifer. You can see of that 2,760, 2,060 was the Brazos River alluvium wells, which is primarily used for agricultural irrigation purposes, whether it's out in the Brazos County area or down in that Milliken bottom. So 2,060 there, 1 permit in the Calvert Bluff, and 1 in the Spartan, and 1 down in the Yawa Jackson, which is at land surface here in Bryan College Station. Boy, this really doesn't want to work. Okay, why don't you just advance it? That'd be good. Metered production was down this year compared to past, in 2022 and 2023, we had seriously dry summers, so our production was way up, especially from the Simsboro Aquifer. You can see here that, and I'm going to talk specifically on that one, Simsboro was down slightly. We had very little agricultural pumping during 2024 from the Simsboro. As a matter of fact, just pretty much very little throughout the year from any aquifer. But the total amount of water produced during 2024 was slightly reduced from the previous year in 2023. Okay, go ahead. Here's our metered production by category. So there's our 5 categories: agricultural, municipal, public water supply, industrial and commercial, and steam electric. Agricultural and steam electric are set at a much lower rate of fees, and we have 5 steam electric permits for the 2 big power plants up in Robertson County. You can see they produced a little over 5,100 acre feet. Agricultural total with all aquifers was only 2,100 acre feet. The rest of that came from municipal, rural water supply, and industrial commercial. Okay. Here's the fees by category. I won't go through each one of those, but you can see that the lion's share of our budget comes from municipal, rural water supply, and commercial. That's the highest rate that's paid, and that's where the lion's share of the money that we are able to fund the district on. for a total of $834,700 that will be collected on fees from 2024. And I might mention, we're in the process of collecting those 2024 fees now. We've been in arrears, 1 year in arrears. And in 2025, we have changed that. We're going to get these 2024 permit fees collected, and we're already started to collect 2025 fees in real time based on permitted amounts, not based on actual production. We're still requiring everybody with a permit that's anything over 35 gallons per minute is still having to have a meter. We still read the meters or get them to read the meters so we know what total production is, because that's how we actually can do management. When we know how much is being pumped, we can see the effect of pumping. We know what what to project out through our groundwater modeling. So it's still important that we meter and get that information, but we won't be collecting fees in 2025 based on metered production. It'll be on permitted amounts, okay? Total exempt wells for the year was 269, 81 of them being a domestic livestock well, which is something 35 gallons per minute or less and used for a domestic or livestock purpose. 81 of those in Brazos, 163 of those in Robertson. And the 25 oil and gas or rig supply wells, mostly that's us finding wells that have never been declared from as far back as the 80s and 90s. When we come across a well and it's still a rig used for rig supply purpose, we go ahead and register that well, put it in the database. So many people, I'll say this for the public, there are so many people that believe that if they tell us they have a water well, that we're going to come put a meter on it, and we're going to tell them how much they can pump and when they can pump, and they're going to be charged for it, which is probably the largest myth that there ever was. And the only way that I am able, as a groundwater district manager, to protect someone's property rights properly is to know that they have a well. And if I know that they have a well, I can get them on the map and protect them by well spacing, that type of thing. So it's greatly appreciated if people get that information out, that don't be afraid of the groundwater district, because I am not going to come put a meter on your well. It's not going to happen. Not on my shift. Okay? All right, go ahead and go to the next. All right, here's our total wells by category as of the end of last year. Nearly 5,000 exempt wells, 1,338 rig supply wells for oil and gas purposes. We do have 611 historic use permits and 482 drilling operating permits, which means those are wells that were just an operating permit is one that the well was already drilled for, the groundwater district was confirmed, but they've come in since that time and they've said we'd like to produce our well. That goes under the operating. The drilling operating is one that we've never drilled a well here. We want to come in and drill a well. They all end up being operating permits. And so for a total number of nearly 7,400 wells, and I can tell you there's likely between 3,000 and 4,000 wells that are out there that we simply don't know about.
Wow.
So the more we know, the better we're able to manage. All right, go ahead. We're in the middle of the DFC planning process, desired future conditions. And I can't stress to the public, I can't stress to you guys or the City of Bryan or Silicon College Station, Texas A&M, or any of the entities in Robertson County, the importance of the desired future condition planning process. And that's simply a quick overview of that is, what does my board of 8 board members, 4 of which are Brazos County, 4 of which are Robertson County, what do they want the aquifers to look like 50 years from now? We're now planning for 2080, okay? And there's been a lot of concern about the availability of water from the Simsboro Aquifer in 2070. There's been a lot of talk about that. I can tell you it is my job, and it is my board's job to direct me to make sure that when we get to what has been set as the desired future condition of any of the aquifers, the dreaded word curtailment comes up. Curtailment meaning basically it's going to be a cap on the amount of water that can actually be produced from the aquifer, and that's a real concern. That's a real concern for cities. It's a real concern for everyone. Okay, so everybody needs to be paying attention to the desired future conditions that are being set, because we don't set those by ourselves. We have to hold hands with 4 other groundwater districts that sit over the very same aquifers, and we all have to come to an agreement as to what those desired future conditions are going to look like in 2080, and we have to have 4 of those 5 groundwater districts to agree. Okay, so it is very important to understand my job, our job, is not only to protect the property rights of owners, landowners in Brazos and Robertson County and the assets that they have in groundwater, but it's to conserve and protect the aquifers. Okay, we're the ones that actually determine when harm may not be occurring to an aquifer. All right. We're currently off into round 4 of the DFC planning process. We have to have our proposed initial DFCs done by May the 1st of next year, and then at that point it will be out for 90 days for public comment, public input. Public input is at all times. We continuously are taking input. We encourage the public to come to our meetings that we have. Right now they're happening about every 2 months. They happen in Milano. It's always up on our website when and where things are going to be. So it's if you've got things to say and that are important and would add to the process, you need to come and be involved. And then after we did the 90 days of hearings, and we take everyone's comments that have either been given to us verbally or given to us written, and then we see if there's something that we can do to incorporate that into what we believe that the desired future conditions need to be. Okay? Go ahead. All right. This is important, so everybody take note, please. We have to comply with the desired future conditions. They were set 4 years ago. We've got to comply with those. We cannot let our artesian head, so that everybody understands, these aquifers, it's not a water table. This is, you don't just drill down, all of a sudden there's water, it's there. Our aquifers, 7 aquifers are under pressure. You drill down into the aquifer and water comes up towards land surface, and you are pumping your wells off of the artesian pressure. The aquifers, my job is to make sure they stay fully saturated into perpetuity, that we never drain an aquifer, okay? So looking here at our desired future conditions, so the middle column is the amount of artesian head, that pressure that I was talking about, how much we will allow, how much has been agreed to by the 5 groundwater districts for each of the 5 areas. Ours are different from theirs. It's just because the aquifer is different in places, okay? That's the allowable amount of artesian reduction that we can have out to year 2070. So I'm going to pick on the Simsboro, and it's 262 feet. So in year 2000, the water level was here, and hang on just one moment, I apologize. Okay. In year 2000, our water level was 0. That's where we started at, 0. Okay. we have now we can go down by year 2070 to 262 feet of artesian reduction. By year 2070, we've lost 66 feet in 24 years. 66 feet. So we've lost about a quarter of the artesian head as we move off that, and this is very normal. It's very normal because not only has Bryan College Station, A&M, this area been using Simsboro water for a long time, now we've picked up and we have Vista Ridge over on the western side of Brazos County sending water into San Antonio, and when they've turned those pumps on, they never turn them off. They never turn them off. They send 50,000 acre feet of water to San Antonio per year, and that's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. That causes an effect here, and we've seen the Bryan College Station area, the artesian reduction right here has been between 30 and 40 feet of artesian reduction since the year 2020. Okay? That's going to continue to happen. It's just the way it is. We are interconnected. They pump, it affects us. We pump, it affects them. People up in the north pumping, affect down here. Bryan College Station is affecting them. Okay? So that's why we have to have the regional DFC process, so that we can all hold hands and figure out how to best manage what we have. All right, so we've lowered the artesian head about 25%. Go ahead and go to the next. So on the left-hand side, that is what it looks like, just a decline from year 2000 to year 27 and just a straight line if it were no ups and downs on pumping, okay? All right, go ahead and go to the next slide because it's a little bigger. This is what has actually happened in Brazos and Robertson County within our district. So it starts in year 2000. We pick it up in 2017, and we've lost about 28 feet of artesian head. That's an average across the entire district. That's from wells here in Brazos County that are pumping along OSR all the way up to wells that are out to the east of Bremont. Okay, we have 12 specifically cited wells that we use as our desired future condition wells that tell us airily what's happening. So it's an average across that district. So you go along 2017 all the way out to 2021, and you see a very slow decline, and that's just because of normal pumping, normal things going on. I told you that Vista Ridge began pumping in 2020. In April of 2020, they turned on all their pumps, and they started rolling, and by the time we didn't see any real effect in 2021, it took time for the pressure, for that cone of depression to be pushing out towards us, okay? But look what happened in 2022. The decline began, and that was solely, that wasn't solely from Vista Ridge. What else happened in 2022? We had one of the worst summers that we've ever had. Everybody down here was keeping their yards green. Good for you. So were the farmers. They were trying to keep all their crops going. So we had a real large, heavy pumping year. So we had a real serious decline that year. And then you had 2022 into 2023. It continues to go down. You see that it's tipped back up just a little bit because last year y'all didn't use near as much water. Neither did the farmers out in Robertson County, but they were still using water in San Antonio. Okay, so you're still going to have that decline. We have to comply with the DFCs. We have triggering levels. When we get to 65% of the DFC, whatever it might be set at the time, that's our trigger level 1, and we will get the public together, we will get everyone together and go, okay, here's where we are at this time. Are there any management strategies that we need to change or any things that we need to implement? Do we need to look at management zones? there won't be any curtailment at 65%. At 80%, that's trigger level 2, and it's the same thing. We continue to look very closely at what's going on, and are there things that we can be doing right now to implement that we would otherwise not have to do. When we get to 90%, we never make it to 100% of the DFC because we can't exceed the DFC. By statute, we can't exceed the 262. We stop at 90%, and that's where curtailment comes, and that's where everybody's gut kind of turns, because it's important to know that curtailment is real, will be real at some point in time, but it's all dependent on the DFC, that desired future condition. So everybody needs to keep that in mind. That's really important to understand. We just didn't come up with 262 feet of artesian reduction. Okay? As a matter of fact, my board is in the process of determining exactly what do we want it to look like in 2080, because we're in this process. So, okay, probably enough on that. Next. We're able to know what's happening in an aquifer because we monitor a copious number. We're doing 223 wells in our 8 aquifers every year with a total of 542 water level measurements to know exactly what the response from pumping is, and that doesn't count the 50 to 75 wells that we have up in the Calvert area, the Hearn area, where we know that there's going to be serious amount of Simsboro pumping if and when a transport permit is in place. So we probably do 1,000 measurements a year. We know what's happening in the aquifers. If somebody needs to know what's happening in their wells, they just need to come to us, because we are the authority on it, okay? I'm not bragging, I'm just stating facts. Okay, next. Here's our current fee structure. Going to change, it's already changed. You can see what the rates are. Okay, go ahead. We educate. We try to help people to understand what an aquifer is and how it works and why. I found it's difficult for adults to grasp it because they simply already have in their mind what's all going on, and it's hard to change an adult. That's why we spend our time in 4th grades, 5th grade, and 7th grades and teaching those kids what it really is, what the truth is. Okay, and we do the best job in the state of Texas. There's just no doubt about it. Nobody even attempts to get to 6,000 kids a year in person, eyeball to eyeball. They do not even attempt to do that. Okay, go ahead. Our management plan, it's online. You should read it. If it's important to you, you should read it. It tells you how we're going to get to where we are in 2080. Okay, it's going to tell you what our strategies are. And we just had our last one, the one that we're currently under, was recently and finally approved in late December of 2023. Last slide, legal affairs. We have legal affairs going on. April the 30th, May 1st, and into May 2nd, we have a district court trial. It's A&M System versus Groundwater District with a writ of mandamus to set contested case hearings on 32 production permits and 1 transport permit. It is set for trial. And the question there is, was A&M's request for the contested case hearing, was it proper? So that's what we have before Judge Wise on April the 30th. We currently have 7 transport permits that are set to be heard at the State Office of Administrative Hearings. October the 20th through the 23rd, and we'll see if that holds or not. And then the last one on the bottom Fazino Investments LP versus the Groundwater District. We, in early January, were sued for federal takings, challenging an amendment to our district rules on spacing between wells. They said that that was because we further spaced out from on Simsboro wells than what they were, that was a, they believe that that was a takings, and would like for the district judge, the federal district judge in Waco, to hear that and move forward. So we're into that. I know too much about legal stuff. And now, next slide. Anybody got any questions? That was way too much, Dwayne.
You did a great job, Alan.
I have just one question. So when I'm out in the community talking to residents and talking about, when I'm out in, oh, I thought I could talk loud. And when I'm out in the community talking to constituents in different groups, you know, I talk about with all of the different things that are going on, I talk about the growth of the county. And so we talk about, you know, resources and infrastructure. And the question always comes up because this, number one, the state of Texas, the population growth is exploding. With that, so is Brazos County. I mean, I'm saying ours is exploding in terms of the whole state, but people are moving to Texas, they're moving to Brazos Valley, Brazos County. And so the concern is sort of like, okay, we want our county to stay the same, but with that comes use of resources such as water. And you're right, there's so many articles, I mean, just seeing it everywhere about water being the new oil. With what you're telling us, with all of the usage of the water that is not only for Brazos County or Brazos Valley, but you know, you sound like you're saying San Antonio. Do we need to be concerned about the growth, the population growth that is going to impact this precious resource?
You should always be paying attention to it. Our job's to make sure there's going to be water here forever. That's our job. Mm-hmm. Is the water going to remain at the current price that it is today? The answer is no. Water is going to get higher and higher over time. That's just a given.
Okay.
Are there avenues for entities to make sure that they're going to have enough water to do what they need to do in year 2080? Absolutely. There are definitely avenues for that. Groundwater District owns no water. We own no water. People think we own the water. We don't own anything. We just regulate the property rights of landowners. That's all we do. Is so Brown and College Station own land, they own water. Mr. Fazino, he owns land, he owns water. We regulate that and make sure that everybody's going to be able to share in that resource. Okay? Yes, are the resources going to become more expensive? Yes, they are. Yes, ma'am. They certainly are. I told the city of College Station some years ago, I sleep really well at night. They asked me, so what keeps you up at night about this? And I said, nothing keeps me up. I'm a dead sleeper. I'm not, because I'm the regulator, and the regulator says, when I get to 262, we're curtailing, okay? Your job in Brazos County, the entities in Brazos County, the entities in Robertson County need to be planning for 2080 and where are they going to get their water and how they're going to do to meet their need.
So kind of tongue-in-cheek, as you talk about planning, you talked about those of us who like to water our lawns. So or do we need to start thinking about zero-scape sort of being Arizona?
You know, I'm not going to go that far. I don't have my bulletproof vest on it.
Got you.
But I'll say that if it fits, wear it.
Right. Well, I grew up in West Texas, so we didn't have a lot of trees and grass, so you know, it looks like a desert out in Midland.
And you know, I would say for the people that are watering lawns, just don't overwater. Use reason about what you're doing. So, but you're always going to have water here. You're not going to run out of water. It's going to be more expensive over time. Everybody needs to start wearing that because it just is.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? I wore you all out, didn't I?
A lot of information.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank y'all.
You
Appreciate it
you
so
have
much.
great knowledge, and I'm glad you came in and
Very good.
shared it.